We have so many things that make us different. Age, race, gender, geography, wealth, and health. But no matter how different we all seem on the outside, on the inside, we all need one thing to live: blood. Canada is a beautifully diverse country, and for that reason, we need to diversify our greatest lifeline. Someone you know and love may one day need this lifeline, and as a community, it's our responsibility to take care of each other. You can make an impact and save lives. The time to take action is now.
So when you look at it from a sports context, this is not a 1 or 2 possession game. This is a huge margin that we need to correct. The need in terms of new donors is over 100,000 every single year. So Jama, we need to start to have the conversation. How do you view how we can start to make this a much bigger scenario, because it is a critical need?
Yeah, I think sport's amazing, right? Because it sort of brings people together and everyone watches sport. But there's a lot of work that goes behind the scenes. And for a coach on an NBA coaching staff, like, we spend so much time talking about an opponent, talking about what our players are gonna do, hours and hours of dialogue. And I think the dialogue creates the environment where there's information that makes sense. So we can actually then run a play or guard a pick and roll or do whatever we need to do to win the game. But that dialogue had to happen. That conversation had to happen, because that's how you get awareness. That's how your players know what they're supposed to do. And I think in this field, the more we can discuss, the more we can talk about things, and the more there's authentic sort of discussion from people to people, and then like professionally as well, the more people can understand what they can actually do and how they can help.
Yeah, you understand this because it's close to your heart.
Absolutely. You know, my dad actually needed one, and blood was available for him. And so this is definitely something that was near and dear to my heart. And, you know, it's funny how we don't typically talk about donating blood. It's not a dinner time conversation, but it should be.
Yeah, when you say we, certainly you're looking at the BIPOC community who's not having this conversation, specifically the Black community. And when I saw some of the numbers and the stats, it reframed how I thought about it. Because I'm someone who, in my professional career, my daily life, I like to think of myself as pro-Black, and putting forth that message and walking, you know, my talk. But when I see that there are less than 1% of the registry that is Black, and we make up over 4% of the population, I need to do something if I want to be pro-Black. And the cost is going and getting some snacks for half an hour. Like, what are we talking about? Right? I could save lives.
All of us will be patients at one point in our life. And it's so important for us to recognize the role that we have to play to support each other. And I think this is part of this conversation, is to normalize it and make it part of our routine. And I find in my own practice, the stories I've seen, and when I worked in the hospital setting and doing obstetrics and working with my patients, it was very clear that we needed to have more diversity within our donor pool as well. And that's something that's really lacking, and it's all on all of us to be able to be part of this. And I see it with kids in my practice who have had sickle cell and had needed to have regular transfusions. It's allowed them to go to school, to function, to play sports, to be a part of their community, to elderly individuals who have anemia and aren't able to get out of bed because they're so low on energy, and having that transfusion has made such an impact on their lives.
I think for me, just even having this dialogue now and this discussion and this awareness that that blood is different, and it's not like something that someone else can just do it and it's gonna be fine and other people will donate. Like, if I wanna help people in my community, I need to help too.
In terms of also making it a safe place for people to come, making it easy, making it in community, what can we do to make sure that we're also holding up our end of the bargain and making it easy and aware and safe for people to be a part of the process?
I think this, my goal in life is to actually make our healthcare system more equitable and more accessible for so many more people. But that starts with building trust in spaces that we have lost that trust because of the way that we have treated our patients, specifically our Black and BIPOC community, really. And it's so important that we build that trust again by being invited into those communities and building the relationship with leaders in the community and the community itself to show that we are respectful and understanding that there is a need. And the reason behind why we're coming isn't to use anybody's blood for any malpurposes, but actually for their people and for the community at large.
One thing I'd also love to add to the conversation, you guys mentioned community. As somebody who is BIPOC but also biracial, it's a unique experience right then and there. And I think it's also, like we talked about this even when we were donating, the fact that the way the world is going is that there is just going to be more and more biracial people that kind of look like me in the future. And so for me to kind of, donate and then give back and kind of set the tone for next generations, I think that's so important as well, because the need for blood is constant.
When you bring up the point around biracial individuals, there's even more diversity that comes up. And so we really do depend upon increasing the diversity of our donor population to be able to match that level of diversity that we know is emerging even more every day. I recently had a patient who was going through cancer treatment, and he's from the Congolese community, and they did a call out to their church and they did a call out to the rest of their community, and people just came out. And it was so incredible to see, because they were worried about getting a match. And they were able to find one through this network of people that they just knew and they loved. And it ended up just spiraling into this thing where people realized they came together as a community. They had music and food and just invited everybody out to realize we could do this for each other.
I'm just moved, as a parent, hearing you speak. I think when you're younger, you just think about yourself. All of us kind of do. But as soon as you become a parent, and I think about my kids and this conversation about there's Swazi, there's some Scottish, there's some Korean, there's a whole lot going on for my kids. And if they were in need and they needed something, I would want someone to help that could.
Jama, what we do in sports, we keep stats and records. Well, all of this information, all the pertinent stats, how you can get involved is at blood.ca. So you can learn more right there. When you posted, after we donated, partially because you're an influencer, I saw the flood. I saw the flood of people in your mentions.
Yeah.
So grateful that you gave once. What was that like for you to see in real time?
Yeah, that was surreal. When I read the comments, it was like either I've had a blood transfusion, my son had a blood transfusion, my mom, my dad, just so many people who are relating exactly to this, and they're thanking me. And I'm like, listen, I'm not I don't feel like a hero by doing this. I feel like this is actually something that just should be done. I don't feel like, it's anything exceptional. I feel like it's, like I said, it should be normalized. But the fact that it's not, the fact that people were so grateful really spoke to me. So that's why I personally want to make it a habit, because I just saw the direct impact of people literally telling me their stories.
So I don't know how your experience was. I just went about my day afterwards. I didn't even realize. The only different thing was when I got home, my kid was like, you have a sticker on your arm. I want a sticker too. But it was easy. And it was the best part of my day, because I saw from the volunteers how much it meant. In terms of opportunities, I look at this, Jama, similarly to when, from a sporting context, we stepped up and said, well, there's a barrier of entry to vote, come on down to our arenas. We need a food drive because of a massive issue. We're gonna open up our spaces. Do you foresee, above and beyond conversations like this, from a sports context, us being able to use our infrastructure to make it easy and quite frankly, to make it cool?
Yeah, it's funny, if an athlete does something, other people want to do it too. That's sort of the way society sort of operates right now. And I think for me, what are the action items? I'm gonna go talk to all my guys after this and be like, guys, do you know this information first of all? And what can we do about it? Do you want to give, or can you talk about it? And just the talk matters, right? And because that's gonna lead more and more people to give. And if they can repost or talk or discuss, that right away in and of itself removes some barriers and makes it kind of cool, right? If one of the Raptor players is talking about giving blood, well, man, I can do that as well.
For me, I was called to support community, but when you're giving, you're not just going to be a match potentially for someone who looks like you. Really, we need more blood for everyone.
For everybody, absolutely. And I think just knowing that you have a role to support our entire community at large is a big piece of that too. And addressing misinformation is key. Acknowledging that it can feel scary at first, like we've done here, and getting that needle can be scary at first. As many people have fear of needles. But if we can talk about those things, address that, and realize that you can have such a huge impact, that's really where we need to go.
Awesome. So you're gonna go post, you're gonna go talk to your guys, you're gonna go back into the community and do the great work that you do, and I'm gonna go give blood.